Here you. Where are you? I know you're here somewhere. Come here. Ooh, let's fight. There you go. Good old drop shot bass. Come ahead, I got you right in the corner of the mouth. You are not going anywhere. Fun little guys. Good little guy. He's cold. There you go, little guy. Woo! Thought he was going to come right back in the boat.
Hey folks, Glenn May here with BassResource.com, and today let's talk about drop shot fishing in the fall. How to catch fish with a drop shot. Now this is a great technique to use during the time of the fall when the fish just aren't as actively feeding. This is when the drop shot comes in, when those fish don't want to chase down crankbaits like they normally do in the fall or hit those top waters, but they're sitting out there kind of lethargic and they're sitting on certain types of structure. You can pick them apart and take that school apart and catch a lot of fish using the drop shot. So that's what I want to talk about today. So first I want to talk about the rod and reel and the rig that I'm using. I'm using a 7-foot medium light power rod with a fast action tip, so lots of spring to it, lots of give, because this is a light line technique. I'm using, it's all revolves around the hook, right? I'm using a real light wire size 1 hook. So you need equipment that's got a lot of give to it, because you can either bend that hook or you can rip it out of the fish's mouth while you're fighting it back to the boat. If you're using really strong line or a stout rod, you're going to lose a lot of fish that way. So you need equipment that's matched to that hook in order to get that fish in the boat. So I'm using this real light limber rod, and paired with it I'm using 6.2 pound fluorocarbon line. This is Seaguar finesse line. Love this stuff. Seaguar, they invented fluorocarbon. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they've invented fluorocarbon fishing line. So because of that, they actually make their own fluorocarbon resin. This is made specifically for fluorocarbon fishing lines. The only manufacturer that actually makes that. They do it themselves, and the whole production process all the way through, they're in control of it. High quality standards. That's why they can make 6.2 pound line when nobody else can, because they can make it to exacting standards. And I found that I can go down to 6.2 without any more break-offs or having to retie as much, because this fluoro finesse line that Seaguar makes is, to me, just as good as far as strength and durability, abrasion resistance and durability as 10-pound line. Plus I get that sensitivity, and the bait is a lot more natural moving in the water because I'm using that lighter line. And as the fall progresses, the water starts to clear up more and more and more. And the more it clears up, the more visible braid becomes. You don't want to be using braid with this for that reason. Plus, braid has no stretch at all. And when you're using this light wire hook, that's exactly the opposite of what you want, because the braid can basically bend out this hook or rip it right out of the fish's mouth. Don't even try using leaders this way, because, you know, fine, put in 5-10 foot leader, whatever you want, but that's not going to make up for the detrimental effects of braid in this case. Braid just isn't a good choice. Braid also is buoyant. Braid, you get this bow in the water when you're using the drop shot technique, so you don't have as good as connectivity with it. I know finesse line is very expensive. Fluorocarbon line is really expensive, so I'll put some backing on the reel and only spool up about 60 to 80 yards of it at a time, so I can stretch that spool out and use it a lot longer. It's a great cost-effective way of using it. But at any rate, that's the line I'm using. And now here, what I'm using is a VMC spin shot hook. You see that? I can spin it, and it doesn't twist the line. That's one of the reasons why I really like it. I've got it nose hooked here. I'm just using a finesse worm in this case. Sometimes I'll use a small minnow type bait to imitate the bait fish that the bass are feeding on. But that spin shot not only reduces line twist, but it also makes the bait can act more natural in the water.
I got a fish, believe it or not. I threw way out there in the middle of nowhere and caught a fish.
They're sitting on these little drops.
Nice.
That's a good fish.
Come here, little guy. In the middle of nowhere. Just through a dark spot. That's just it. Through to a dark spot. Another little 1.5 pounds.
And I've just got a regular drop shot on the end of it. This is an 1/8 ounce drop shot weight. This works really well for me, the teardrop. It's got a little swivel on it, so it doesn't get hung up on stuff. I also have some that are more of a cylinder shape, which works really well in rocky areas, so it doesn't get hung up as much. Although I don't fish a drop shot and say riprap. I've just come to the conclusion I get way too frustrated when I'm trying to fish in the riprap. You're just asking for trouble, and regardless of what kind of weight that you have, it's going to get hung up in riprap. So I don't use it in riprap. But what I do use it for is in the fall. Again, the bite is off a little bit. This is a great time to bring it out. When the fish, you can nurse an area and you can catch a lot of fish. So typically what that is there's two different ways I really do this. I split the fall into two different seasons. One's the early fall, which is late summer until the water temperatures get into the 50s, mid 50s or so. And then from that point to early winter, where the water temperatures get into the low to mid 40s, that's the second part of the fall. And I fish at those two seasons, if you will, or two parts of the fall differently. So in the first half, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the main lake points that are entrances to bays and coves that have fresh water flowing into them. The bait fish at this time of year are looking for fresh water. They're moving up shallow, so the bass are going to follow them. Now, if I come to a bay that doesn't have any fresh water in it, I'll just skip it. I'll go to the next one, because the more fresh water that is in there, the more oxygen-rich water that's in the water or in the bays, that it's going to attract those fish. So I want to fish high percentage areas, so that's where I'll go. So I'll start on the outside of those areas, and I'll take this drop shot and I'll pinpoint the key structure areas, be it a drop off, be it a hump, a ridge, rock pile, or a point. I want to throw it out there, and basically all you do is you just let it sit out there, let it fall. And then this time of year you'll sometimes get bit as the bait falls. The fish may just come up, they're sitting on that piece of structure, and they'll see it coming down to them, they'll swim up and grab it. So watch your line carefully as it's falling. Look for it to pop, twitch, jump, do anything unusual, and that could be a fish. But let's just say it does get to the bottom, and typically it does. All you're going to do is reel up, and then you're just going to make a good connection with the line. Make a nice straight connection with the line. Hard to do with braid, because you got that bow in the line. You're only going to end up moving the bait. You don't want to do that. You just want to hold that one position, and then all you're going to do is just shake it just a little bit. Give it a little shake and stop. Give it a little shake and stop. You just want to shake the rod tip. That's all you're looking to do, is just shake that rod tip just like that. Okay, see how much this bait is moving when I do that, when you got it on tight line? Okay, it's just dancing around in that water. It doesn't take much. So just shake it just a little bit and pause and wait. Hang out for a little bit and then give it another little shake. And a lot of times the line will just start swimming off. You don't really feel the fish. It's a light bite. If you don't get bit, lift up, reposition it, and then do it again. Just let it sit there and give it a little shake. Sit, give it a little shake.
Here, you little feisty thing. Come hither. You are a feisty thing. There you are. You are a feisty one. Not happy at all about that, having that in his mouth. Another little drop shot bass. Come hither. Another little guy. He was like almost behind the boat. They're cold.
Again, this is a great time to fish those areas where you know the fish are hanging off of these pieces of structure or relating to it, but they're just not biting faster moving baits. That's when you want to do it. You're not going to cover a lot of water with the drop shot. Keep that in mind. It's not a good search bait or a good search technique, but it's good for picking apart those areas when the fish just aren't really wanting to bite, but you know they're sitting on that cover. Now, if you don't catch any fish there, then start moving yourself up shallow. Again, this is in the first half of fall. Move up shallower and start targeting any kind of cover that you see. Be it a stump field, chunk rock, laydowns, that type of thing, outside weed lines. Docks are really good for fishing this too. So it's a great way to cover all those shallow areas. And you can nurse an area and catch a lot of fish. Once you catch a fish, make sure that you keep working that, because you're probably into a school. They roam in packs this time of year, anywhere from 3 to 25 fish in a pack. So if you catch one, just keep throwing that area, general vicinity, and work it pretty good. Crisscross, come in different directions, and you'll likely catch several more fish in that area. Now, if I did do all that and I still haven't caught any fish, then I'll pull out to the main creek channel in those coves and bays, and I'll start fishing that. A lot of times the fish will relate to that area. They may be a little suspended off of it, but I'll focus on those creek bends where they come closer to the shoreline, or where they intersect with a point, or say a sandbar or something like that, shallower water. And specifically, I like to fish the inside bends of those channels where it's shallower and the current's a little bit slower. That you want to look for any kind of cover along there, like stump fields or chunk rock or maybe your weed bed. Then I'll really target it, and I'll just work it real nice and slow with this drop shot. That's a great place to go and pick off a lot of fish when you can't find them up on the shoreline. Now, going into that second part of the season that I mentioned about, when the water temps in that mid to lower 50s and start getting colder and getting closer to winter, the fish are going to pull out of those shallow areas and start moving deeper where they're going to set up shop for winter. So I start hitting the main lake areas. I start hitting those main points, those humps, those ledges, those drop-offs. That's what I really want to target with this bait. What I like to do, if you're in the northern part of the North America, what happens is the perch will start to school up. They'll bunch up and they'll relate to offshore structure, but they won't be on it. They'll ball up, but they'll be kind of out away from the shoreline. But some of them are dying off, and they'll sink down to the bottom, on the bottom part of that ball of fish, and that's where the bass are. They sit up underneath them and they feed on the perch. So what I like to do with the drop shot is I'll put a heavier weight on here. I'll put like a 1/2 ounce on here. And what I'll do is I'll try to drop this bait through that school of perch. Now, if you guys have caught a lot of fish, or you fish lakes that have a lot of perch on it, you know what I'm talking about. You fish in a plastic, those perch are going to attack it. They'll annihilate it. So I want it to go fast. That's why I'm using a 1/2 ounce weight. I want to punch through that school without the perch getting to it. And when it comes through the bottom, that's where the bass are waiting with open mouths. Right? It's a cool little technique to use during the fall. You locate those pods of perch on your depth finder, and then punch through them with your drop shot. I use like a minnow-sized bait, whatever they're feeding on at the time, something that similar looks like what they're feeding, like a perch. Punch it through. When you get through the bottom of that perch ball, boom, you'll catch usually a nice-sized fish. Usually the good-sized bass are sitting underneath those pods, so that's a great way to catch some large fish during the late fall.
Ooh, you're pulling like you're mean.
There you go. That's
Pulling like you're mean.
That's a good fish there. There you go. That's a largemouth.
Boy, oh boy, you are not happy with me.
There we go. That does the trick.
That does the trick. Drop shot fish. There we go. There we go. Much better fish. Much better.
That works.
That's what we've been waiting all day for.
That's a good one.
Thank you, dude. Put a little belly on him.
Yeah, that works.
Put a little fish. Drop shotting. Here you go, baby. Thank you for the play. That was fun.
In the summertime, this is what I'm using, a little bit longer leader into the early fall, longer leader, so I can get more of those fish because they're more actively roaming. But in the winter time, you get closer to winter and that into the fall, I might have a shorter leader like that because the fish are closer to the bottom, they're hugging the bottom, they're not really going to relate any higher than that, they're not going to chase fish as much, so I'll shorten that up. And then what I'll do is I'll just drag it then. I'm not really lifting it up and dropping it now. I'm just dragging it using the rod tip, and I'll just drag it off that piece of structure. Just slowly working it down along the edge. As a matter of fact, if it's a steeper drop, I might even do the opposite. Park my boat in shallow water, throw it out in the deeper water, and slowly work it up. That way I don't lose contact with the bottom. I don't have to keep feeding out line as it gets deeper. and I can just reel up on it, then just use my reel and slowly working on up and pause it and shake the rod tip a little bit, move it up, pause it, shake the rod tip a little bit. This, you know, you go fish a drop off or a ledge, you position your boat up shallow to fish uphill, and the fish that are on the ledge decide, hey, your boat is a good piece of structure, or sorry, a good piece of cover, and provides some shade. So they move up from 16 feet to 4, right under the boat. It's like crappie fishing off a dock. Yeah, right under the boat. Right directly under the boat. No, we're not going to go on the ledge. We want to go under the boat. You know, sometimes these bass just don't read the same books we do. Anyway, that's the way I fish a drop shot for the fall. I hope that helps. For more tips and tricks like this, visit BassResource.com.